To item number 2 on our agenda today, Community Development Resource Agency East Placer Tahoe Housing Update.
Good morning. This is Emily Setzer from Community Development. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. I'm sorry.
Great. Okay. So I'll give you an update on our East Placer housing update, or East Placer housing in the area right now. Next slide, please. Just to give you a refresher, our county does work out of a multidisciplinary housing team, so it's not just CEDRA working on this. We have different departments like CEO, economic development, facilities, and the other ones. We're working together to achieve 3 goals. These are the 3 goals we're always working towards, and that's to really increase the availability of the mix of housing types in the county and to improve the county's overall employment growth and reduce vehicle miles traveled. Next slide, please. We work really closely with the Mountain Housing Council in this region, and the Mountain Housing Council updated the region's housing needs assessment this past October. And the needs did increase since the previous assessment. Right now, our region between North Lake Tahoe and Truckee needs about 9,500 housing units. That encompasses current residents who work up here already, the in-commuters, the seasonal workers, and homeless. So that is a really large need for our area. East Placer's numbers are slightly lower than Truckee's, but even if you just looked at our resident workforce households right now, we would need about 1,800 units. So that's really a lot of units. Next slide, please. To break that down a little further, this slide shows the difference in the income ranges. So the greatest need is at the lower income level, below 80% of the area median income. The middle income to moderate range, so that 80 to 195% of the area median income needs the next greatest number of units. And then the top income earners, so between 195% of area median income up to 245%, which is what we call our achievable range. That is 442 units, which still is much lower than the lower number needed for the 5,400 of low income, but still definitely a great number when you compare to what we've been able to achieve so far. Next slide, please. Just to give you some perspective of why we have such a great need right now, over the past 2 years since COVID began, as we all know, that has drastically changed the housing market. In April of 2020, in the North Tahoe Truckee area, the single family median sale price was $660,000. In November of 2021, just a couple months ago, that median sale price was $1.175 million, which is a 178% increase. So for some perspective, to afford that $660,000 house, 2 people would have needed to earn 245% of our area median income. So they would have been at the top of our achievable income range just to afford that $660,000 house. So today, in order to afford a median income or median sale price home, they would have to earn 425% of the area median income. And then on top of that, of all the homes sold in 2021, almost 40% of those were cash offers. So you can imagine that most of our local workers cannot afford the homes that do become available today at the price points that they are at. And most, if not all of our local workers probably are not presenting cash offers. Next slide, please. For some perspective here, this image, this graph shows the median sale price from November of 2006 to November of 2021. I highlighted the cells so you could see them better, but that red line is the median, the green line is the average. So between 2006 to say 2019, you can see that the median prices hovered somewhere between the mid 400,000 to mid 700,000 range. So even with the dip post the recession and the prices coming back up since then, they really stayed within that $400,000 to $700,000 range. And just since COVID began, we are now at 1.175 million. So you can see how it's really been a big change in housing prices in the past couple of years. Next slide, please. This is a screenshot from Zillow that was taken just a few weeks ago. The search was for anything in East Placer County that was under 900,000, which is still really high for most of our local worker households. It showed one bedroom house for sale. There were 0 condos with monthly HOVs under $750 a month. So the inventory right now is extremely low, on top of having just very, very high prices. So you can understand why people are having such a hard time finding housing at the moment in our region. Next slide, please. We are working very hard to do everything we can at the county level, at staff level, just to provide some data on where we have come from, our county commitments to date for East Placer. We've provided up to over 18 million in funding to get housing in our region. It has yielded almost 300 units. That has included second loans, so over $1 million in second loans, which includes the Martis Fund down payment assistance loans, rehabilitation loans. We've purchased land at our Dollar Creek Crossing site. We're working on housing there. We provided development loans to affordable housing developments like Sawmill Heights and the Kings Beach apartments. And then we've worked with developers on projects like Hopkins Village and Meadowview Place, which are recent for sale and rental developments in Martis Valley. Next slide, please. I'll go through some of the other work that we've been doing. Right now, we're still implementing our workforce housing preservation program. That is the deed restriction program. It's a home buyer assistance program. We help home buyers achieve their down payments in exchange for deed restricting the house so that it can only be occupied by local workers. We do have that 245% area median income cap attached to that achievable income limits. That launched this past summer with $500,000. It provides up to 16% of the purchase cost, up to $150,000 max. So the buyer only needs to contribute 4% to get their 20% down payment. Our goal is that we're going to create a secondary market for local worker housing. It does not include any appreciation caps. And we have 12 qualified applicants in the program right now. So they apply for our program. We say, yes, you're qualified. Come back to us when you get an offer accepted, and we'll finalize your application. So right now we have the 12 qualified applicants out there looking for housing, and none have been able to purchase a home yet. We believe that the current home prices and the extremely low inventory are affecting this program, but we are thinking of ways to make this program more efficient and hope that perhaps housing prices may come down as well. Next slide, please. For some of our projects, Hopkins Village is moving along. That is the 40-unit for sale development in Martis Valley. It's for sale and reserved for households earning up to 180% of the area median income. Right now, of the 40, there are 10 units under contract, and those are increasing every week, which is good to see. And then those should open spring of 2022, and they are currently being under construction right now. Meadowview Place, right across the street in Martis Valley, is a 56-unit affordable rental development. That opened in December and is filling with residents right now. On our Dollar Creek Crossing site, north of Tahoe City, we are conducting environmental review. So we're moving forward in that planning process to get a mix of for sale and rental units at that site. And then we've also been coordinating with the California Tahoe Conservancy on a potential purchase of land to build achievable housing. We're still working through those details, but we hope to have something to bring forward to your board soon. Next slide, please. And then, as you'll remember, Placer County is now a member of the Truckee Tahoe Workforce Housing Agency. It's a joint powers authority formed to help really produce housing through programs, development projects, anything creative that we can do together with our 7 member agencies to help provide housing for our agency employees. This JPA does represent the region's largest employers. We joined them in 2021. We've been meeting with them monthly and more than monthly on certain projects, really looking at creatively at sites in the area and ways that we can produce housing for our employees. Next slide. On top of that, we've been doing a lot of regulatory updates. So really trying to work with our codes to make them, just make it easier to build and facilitate housing. So we did amend our zoning ordinance to allow for single room occupancy about a year ago. We have staff working on zoning ordinance amendments for the countywide housing amendments. Those would allow tiny houses. We anticipate those going to the board in March for potential adoption. And then we're working on finalizing some amendments to the Tahoe Basin Area Plan. Those are based off a BAE study that looked and analyzed at the economic sustainability of our town centers, so Kings Beach and Tahoe City in this area. And that does include some housing updates as well. And then we're anticipating bringing that forward this fall. We've also been participating closely with the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency in their Tahoe Living Working Group, which is a multi-jurisdiction, including members of the public group that meets to try to look at the TRPA code and identify areas for improvement, such as increasing flexibility in height, allowing more density, allowing more coverage, reducing mitigation fees, anything we can do to streamline the code and encourage more accessory dwelling units. Next slide, please. On the topic of those accessory dwelling units or ADUs, we have had a lot of code updates to further allow the ADUs in the recent past years. And we have seen an increase in ADU interest in the public and applications to the county. So we did update our own zoning ordinance in April of 2020. Following that, we updated the Tahoe Basin Area Plan in February of 2021. And then following that, the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency updated their code. So now in the basin, 2 ADUs are allowed per person. It further matches California state law. That was effective in September. Just for some stats on that, we have received 22 East Placer ADU permit applications. 13 of those have been in the Tahoe Basin. We've issued 10 permits and 5 in the basin. And then Megan, our ADU guru, has met with 18 different applicants. She walks them through how to build an ADU, goes through the details and specifics of their site, the different allowances. So we've had 18 of those meetings of potential applicants. Next slide, please. So that is pretty much a wrap up of what we've been doing, where we are today. We have a very large housing need, but we are definitely moving forward and trying to be as creative as possible between all of the work that the county can do at the staff level. And I wrap it up and answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Emily, and appreciate the presentation. Board members, do you have any questions? Sure.
I have just 2 questions, and whether that's you, Emily, or Shauna. First question, just remind me how many proposed units we might get with the Dollar Creek project. And then my second question is about the ADUs, and if any of the folks who are looking at the ADUs are using any of the county pre-approved plans.
Yes. Well, Shauna, if you want to go ahead, go for it.
Shauna Purvines, Community Development Resources Agency. So to the first question on Dollar Creek, we will be analyzing up to 150 units of housing, up to 90 units of what would be more traditional affordable rental type product, and another 60 that would be more of a single family for sale type product. What will actually ultimately get built there will probably be something much lower. And then on the ADUs, we are almost at 1,000 downloads of those plans, of the free plans. We are seeing applications of those master plans come in because there's still a requirement for an engineered foundation. They're coming in a little bit slower. We are working with Nevada County and the town of Truckee right now to expand our suite of plans to include snow load plans. That'll be available probably later this spring.
Great, thank you.
Supervisor Jones?
Yes, I do have a couple of questions. In addition, the projects where Bonnie was asking about Dollar Creek. On Hopkins Village, it says that there are 40 units for sale, but 10 units under contract. Why so few out of 40 under contract?
Yeah, I can only speculate on that one. But it is still, the price did increase because of construction costs and development costs. So they were originally targeted at 550,000. They're now between 575 and 590,000. So that may be a contributing factor. There is that income limit restriction. So the household is still required to be under 180% of area median income. And we are working very closely with our public information office to make sure we're doing as much as we can to publicize the project. And I think we are getting more applicants, probably about close to one a week right now. It's just, I think part of it also may be that you can't go see a finished unit right now. So it is a little conceptual at this point because they are under construction. But those would be my assumptions. I don't have anything in proof really to give you on that.
Okay, so is there any intention maybe to raise the that median that's required up to 190 if the prices are going up like that?
So
The contract.
Emily.
Yeah,
So under our contract with the Martist Fund, who also is a partner in this, they have a cap of that 180.
Oh, okay, it's gonna make it kind of tough if the prices keep going up though, huh?
Correct.
Then I also am wondering, on Meadowview Place, it says 56 units of affordable housing. Do you have any under contract now? It opened this past December?
So they received their occupancy permits actually just last week. So they have taken in applications. This is a rental product. And so they are filling up pretty quickly. This is more of a lower income. This is our 60% or below product for rent product. And they are out with applications with 3 other projects in Truckee at the moment. So, but I will say ours is getting the most attention because it is one beautiful project.
Good.
So, yeah.
That's great. And then I was wondering, on the Workforce Housing Preservation Program, it says that you have 12 qualified applicants. Is that all? Is there a problem with that? Or shouldn't you have more than 12? This is the.
Well, I think as Emily had shared with you, the struggle right now is not getting qualified applicants. I think there's definitely an interest in the program. It's finding units to purchase. There's just the inventory is nearly zero that would qualify for this program.
And then how do your deed restrictions work? I've had constituents talk about deed restrictions and saying that in cases where they're supposed to last for 50 years, sometimes they kind of collapse in much shorter time.
So there's all different types of deed restrictions. It just depends on the program and the funding source. So we do have some programs where deed restrictions were set to be only 20 years, 30 years, 50 years. Under now affordable programs, particularly federal and state documents, it's 55 years. Some deed restrictions restart at the point of sale. So it just really, each one's going to be uniquely different. Under the Workforce Housing Preservation Program, it has a 55-year deed restriction that does renew at the point of sale. So if they were to sell the product, it would start over again.
Oh, okay. Okay. And then the last question, on your housing needs assessment, I don't know for who, but you have 44 homeless included in your unmet housing need. I'm not sure, it doesn't seem appropriate to have the homeless under your unmet housing needs. I mean, is there any chance that you have anything like the Project Room Key, or, like we're talking about, where we can sort of take care of the homeless that don't become part of the housing need, where people are going to be paying rent or purchasing or, and working class?
Sure. So that was an assessment that was completed by the Truckee Tahoe Foundation. So that went well beyond Placer County. And that was based on the counts that were done probably last January. We have a new count coming up this year that usually happens in January, towards the end of January. That'll be kicking off here shortly if it hasn't already. That will update that number. And then I know between Placer County Health and Human Services and Nevada County's Health and Human Services, they are looking, closely at those numbers and are trying to get them into projects like Project Home Key.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Thank you both.
Any other questions? I had a couple, but I defer any questions. Emily or Shauna, on the charts on the median sale price chart, slide 5 and then slide 6, the numbers don't seem to match with the median sales price in April of 2020 at 660. It looks, from the chart, it looks like it was higher than that.
Yes, I think the median sale price fluctuated in 2020. That chart with the green and red lines showed the November price. The slide before it did talk about an April price.
Okay.
It probably did.
But even November the year
by the
before, yeah, even November the year before was higher than the 660. So I just wanted to make sure I used correct numbers, because we might have some discussion later today on what's happened in
yeah, they definitely fluctuate by month. So yes, you're right.
They can bounce around. Okay, great. And then to the point of inventory, for those of us who've had the privilege to live up here a long time, this is usually the lowest time for inventory in our real estate market. Many people put their homes on the market. I think in the spring is more traditional time. And so I'm very hopeful that we'll start to see some movement there. I had the opportunity last night to talk to 3 of our leaders at North Tahoe Fire Protection District, our chief, our fire marshal, and our chief of operations, assistant chief of operations. And all 3 of them were not familiar with this program. So, and we're very interested in sharing this with their employees. Obviously, all of us in public service need to share this information with our employees, because the Workforce Housing Preservation Program really is identified at those making more than the income limits allow in the other types of housing. And they were very interested. And so, Emily, I just urge you to get out to the other special districts and public agencies and make sure people are aware of this program. And while we have only 12 right now, we don't have funding for all 12. If they were all to come in right now, the board would have to augment that. And there are funds that we could request to move into this program. But I think we're all anxious to see this program move forward along with all of our housing programs. So that was my only comment on that. And with that, we'll go to public comment. Are there any public comments on this item? Yes, sir.
I'm Gary Macy. More of a question to the board and to the Housing Authority. There were 3 goals listed as what they're shooting for. Not only increasing housing, but apparently also increasing employment opportunities. These seem to be in conflict with each other. If we look for more employees, we have to find housing. And the board has been more than happy to increase the potential for jobs in Squaw Valley, Homewood Resort expansions, but not seemingly keep up with the housing thing. And I was just wondering how you guys balance that and how do you see that working out? Do we try to put a hold on economic development until these housing issues are solved, or what? That's all.
Thank you. We'll finish our public comment and then we'll come back if we want to clarify anything. Are there any other members of the public who would like to address us on this item? Anybody on Zoom? Okay. I'll venture in a bit on this item just to say that new development does have requirements to address affordable housing. It's really our existing development that has turned and wasn't subject to some of those requirements. I don't know if staff wants to further clarify so it really is truly a balancing act of how we continue to find housing for our employees that are already needed in our communities. Great. With that, unless there's any other comments, Shauna, did you? Oh, I thought you were getting up to address this again. Emily and Shauna, I just want to thank you for all of your efforts. I know on behalf of our community and all of us at the board, we are so thankful for your diligence in trying to move these projects forward and get the word out that we are here to try to help both for our own public employees as well as our business employees in the community and try to deal with this crisis that we've had. Thank you.